This is Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast.
Police this morning are searching for the person who turned this Harlem platform to a crime scene.
A Red Apple Media Podcast Network production. Now, here's Bo Dietl.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast. I'm going to be away for a vacation in a little while, but I wanted to do a last-minute podcast here. First of all, today's a very solemn day. It's the anniversary of 9/11, and I remember where I was that day. It was something where I had our offices were in the Daily News building on 42nd Street. So in the morning, I was remembering listening to Imus in the morning, and the next thing is I heard about a small craft Cessna hit the World Trade Center. So coming in from Long Island, I then pulled them up to the viaduct, and I'm watching from the viaduct the building smoking, and the next thing I saw was another explosion on the second tower. At that point, I think I realized that this was a lot more than just a small Cessna that hit the World Trade Center. The size of the explosion that I saw from far away was almost half of the building with the explosion side. So I knew there was really something bad going on. So at that point, I went to the Midtown Tunnel. The Midtown Tunnel was closed completely, and I showed my retired detective badge, and I was able to go through the Midtown Tunnel. I raced into the office, and our offices were a block away from the United Nations on 42nd Street. And I'll remember when I got into the office, everybody was crying and screaming. And then from my office, I had a direct view downtown of the towers that were still smoking at that time. And I'll never forget, a couple of minutes later, probably half an hour later, was when the first tower went down. And everybody in the office was screaming. I told everybody you should go home. I was worried about that there was more. Now it came up about planes and all that, and I told the people, just stay fast here. Don't be running around the streets. We don't know what's happening. And we were in close proximity to the United Nations, so could it have been a target? Of course it could have been a target. So at that time, I had Mike Ciravolo, retired detective lieutenant, was the president of my company, and we decided, a lot of people don't know, a lot of people do know, I was an iron worker on the World Trade Center before I became a cop. So I was involved with putting structural steel together on Tower A and Tower B at the World Trade Center. So at this time, we would come to work dressed up the way I am now, suit and tie. I said, Mike, we got to go down there. So at that time, I had a little convertible Mercedes. We went to an Army-Navy store over on 3rd Avenue, or Second Avenue, I'm sorry, 2nd Avenue. We bought some dungarees and some NYPD sweatshirts and construction boots, and we got in my car and we headed down there. I'll never forget driving down there. Sirens, lights. I mean, it was. This is a day that we will always, always remember, and I'll never forget this day. We get down there. It was beautiful day. It was blue sky, about 74 degrees, 75 degrees. No humidity. It was such a beautiful day. And as we got closer, it seemed as though we were going into an abyss. It became nighttime. A lot of people don't know the plume that when these buildings came down, this is a plume made up of construction debris, concrete that smashed up. And what it was the plume came up and it became nighttime. And the plume was over blocking the sun out. So when we got there, Mike and I, we had nothing really to cover our faces, and there was some really bad vapors and smells coming out of it. Now I remembered one thing, that when I worked as construction as an iron worker, we sprayed a lot of those girders, the steel girders, with asbestos. And back then, before 1973, asbestos was legal, and they would spray these things for a fire retardant. But all of a sudden, they were supposed to take it out, and they never did. They impacted it, and they rolled canvas around the beams and kept the asbestos in there. So coming down there, I'll never forget, I heard on the radio, Christy Whitman, I believe, she was head of the EPA. She was telling people on the air, the air is fine down in 9/11. It wasn't fine. You had asbestos in that. I went on, I think it was 1010 Winds or CBS Radio, and I says, anybody go down to the towers down there, cover your face. There is asbestos in the air, which we all know what's going on now with all the illnesses that all the officers, the fire department, the police department, the emergency service, and other people have been affected with. So when we went down there, we were climbing around the rubble, and anybody starts telling you about, I was down there on the pile saving people. There wasn't many people to be saved. When we got there was 2 people, I'll remember, and we stayed there till the next day. There were 2 people. There were 2 Port Authority. One was a Port Authority officer and one was a sergeant. They were really deep down. So Mike and I, what we actually became, we were on this a gang. We were passing oxygen and water to the emergency service guys and the fire guys that were going down in the ditch. And I'll never forget my eyes when we first got there. I was crawling around. I thought somebody would yell, I'm here, help me, help me. There was no one to really help. Everybody was just, and you didn't even see bodies. It's unbelievable that these bodies just disappeared. And I felt as though maybe somebody was there. The 2 Port Authorities, and I think there were people under a stairwell that were also saved. But other than that, there wasn't many people to save. And I remember crawling to this one area, this pit, and I crawled over and I looked down, and fire was coming up. It looked like you were looking down what hell probably looks like. And then I crawled back around the rubble, and Mike and I stayed there. We stayed there through the night, and we tried to help in any way we could. And you know what? Today's a very solemn day, and some of the things that people don't realize, this day, for some reason, they even had the debate when you have a Kamala Harris says the most horrible day in American history. I have to laugh, I'm sorry, was January 6th with this insurrection of the White House, of the Capitol. Kamala, I don't know what you're smoking, but the most heinous day in American history was 2, and the most heinous day was 9/11. When 3,000 Americans died at the hands of these terrorists. Also, let's not forget Pearl Harbor also. So let's not even bring this in the same conversation. How dare you, on the eve of 9/11, you bring up about this nonsense of this Capitol demonstration. 1 person was killed. Yeah, 1 person, a woman, an unarmed woman that was shot by a Capitol guard. They had no reason, no right to kill that woman. That guard, that security fellow, that Capitol policeman, his life was not in danger. Why do you just shoot somebody? Damn it, they gave him a big medal. You should have been locked up for shooting an unarmed person. Other than that, you had a bunch of people that were very discouraged about what happened. Did Trump instigate it or not? All I'm saying is you can't bring that date up with what today's anniversary on 9/11 is all about. And some of the things that, if the approximate 3,000 victims, what the world takes, Trade Center with the collapse and all that, we have more than 45,000 people are living with physical manifestations from the attack. At least 45,200 civilians and officers from the NYPD, FDNY, Port Authority, and from emergency service people suffering from at least 1 cancer disease. This attack has not stopped killing people of 9/11, and it's continuing more. And you want to know something? There are over 1,000 people that have not had their proper burial. I'm sorry. We'll cut that. We'll splice that up. There are over 1,000 people that their remains have not been identified. And, it's a tragic thing. And again, last night, going off 9/11, we had a debate last night, which I watched, and I was very discouraged to watch what happened. Everyone knows that I believe in Donald Trump. I support Donald Trump. I'm an independent, but I support him as the best person to lead us out of this abyss. And some of the issues last night that were not projected, and I mean, the one that jumps up, I almost threw up, was when he talks about there's dogs and cats missing in the Midwest, and the migrants are eating dogs and cats. Donald, that's not what we should be talking about. What we should be talking about is the 12-year-old girl raped and murdered. What we should be talking about, the heinous crimes by these illegal migrants that are now infested all over our country, that have come through our southern border. I had a great person, a retired Delta Force person out of Afghanistan on my podcast, and he described them being trained in Afghanistan by bin Laden's son and now have infiltrated our southern border. Yes, that's what we should be talking about. When is the next attack going to occur? Oh, it ain't going to be like planes going into buildings. It's going to be small attacks in populated areas, or maybe sports events, maybe concert halls. This is what's going to be happening, and we have not stopped the influx. And they're estimating 15 million illegal migrants into our southern border. Again, what's going on? We could pick up the paper every day. Every day is what we're talking about as far as with this migrant crime. These are people we have no idea, from the Venezuelan gangs taking over to them walking around the streets controlling, and now with the bail reform, they don't even hold them. I spoke to the governor. I gave her $5,000 as a contribution, and I spoke to her and her husband. I said, Miss Governor, please, you're the executive of this state. Why don't you put an executive order out? Any migrant that is arrested on a felony, why can't you turn it over to ICE? No one has the answer. Then I tell my friend Eric Adams, Mr. Mayor, I know the city council's a bunch of progressive liberal fools, but why don't you do an executive order? You're for law and order. You're for public safety. Make an executive order in New York City. Anyone who's arrested who is an illegal migrant will be turned over to ICE. Nobody has the answer to this. Why are we doing this? What do we want to wait for the next person to get killed, the next person to get robbed, the next person to get raped? These are the issues in that debate that my friend Donald Trump missed completely. And on top of it, why didn't you say, Donald Trump, to Kamala, well, look, you were in for 3.5 years. What makes us think that the next, if you become president, what are you going to do different? Now, all of a sudden, she's flip-flopped on fracking. She's flip-flopped on the border. She's flip-flopped on that. Why didn't you attack her, Donald, about you were in charge of the border. And then you got a guy named Mayorkas in the cabinet. Oh, everything is fine on the border. Everything is fine, you little fool. You've got these people coming in. And then why aren't we talking about 120,000 people in America last year, fentanyl coming through our southern border, coming from China? These are issues that you should have talked about, Mr. President Trump. And I tell you what, I pray that you get another debate, because you really dropped the ball on this one. And I'm very upset, because you know what? I got grandchildren. I got children. I live in New York City. And if Kamala Harris becomes the president, we're not going up. We're going lower and lower. And the crime is now surging. All these statistics are full of baloney. I just took pictures with officers on their motorcycles. You had about 300 people. I couldn't even get to my house on 61st Street last night. Biden was coming through. 2 hours, they shut it down, and they have all the streets closed off. These 200 officers, you could have had 50 over there, 25 of them over there, and let the other people. Who's protecting the people in New York? I ride around the city everywhere. You got cops everywhere. Wait for these guys to drive by. Can't we get this thing down? How about you close the street, let the president go by, and then you're open the damn street up? Why shut it down for 2 friggin' hours? I couldn't get into my house last night for 2 hours, and they told me, you can't drive in there. I said, I live there. You can't drive. What right do they have to stop me from going to my house? I believe in security, but let's get the thing together. We don't have to have an overkill on this. Now everybody's safety, safety, safety. After Trump got shot, now safety, safety, safety. Again, we got Kamala Harris. She's the best. Boy, she's the best. All of a sudden, she comes with all these policies. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. What the hell did you do for 3.5 years? Nothing. You want 4 years? 4 years will be totally destroyed. And what happened last night in that debate? People, don't go by that debate. Trump looked real tired. He thought this was a stump speech, and he looked real tired, and I felt sorry for him. He looked too damn tired. He wasn't up for this thing. He thought this was going to be a game. Kamala's not a dumb person. She's an attorney. She's a smart person. She acted like a complete fool in a lot of the interviews because she didn't know. But she was smart. She stayed in for a week. She studied everything. And then her compadres there on ABC were giving her the softball questions, and they had her supported there. You knew what you were going in there, Donald Trump, Mr. President Donald Trump. You know what you were going into a hornet's nest, and they buzzed you out. You got to get back on track and stop talking about I'm the greatest. No. You're going to be the president of all the people. Talk about what we're facing right now with the economy, with inflation, with how we look around this world. Most important, public safety and the police and the security of this country, of people who want to go out to dinner at night and don't want to be stuck up or shot. These are the important things. And that debate, I tell you, oh, my goodness. I couldn't sleep last night after watching it because I know there's so much more in you, Donald Trump, than what I saw last night. And Kamala, she swept the floor with you. And that's not who I want as my next president. She did very well. She really studied. She did her homework. You know what you did? All you did, Donald, was do your stump speech. Love you, Donald. Make America great. No, Donald, you've got to be able to go in there and chop her up. You have all the ammunition in the world. Why didn't you chop her up as far as the issues? I'm just so disappointed with you. I pray to God that you get another opportunity to debate her again and you go in there strong. And take a rest from your stump speeches. You don't have to stump every day. You should have taken a couple of days to rest and know you're going to the biggest fight of your life right now. It's a win or lose right now. Then you got this other one I don't even like, a Taylor Swiftie, whatever. Who cares what you care about, Taylor Swift? I don't really care. You don't know about nothing. You're making $1 billion, Taylor Swift. You don't know about crime. You got security all over you. But the other people that are walking around the streets and their children don't have any security you want to support. Now it's cool. Kamala Harris, you did nothing. You did nothing. All you did was Willie Brown. That's what you did, Kamala Harris. And that's how you worked your way up. And that's the answer. And you want to know something? That's it. And probably you're going to end up winning. Then you'll probably come after me. Come after me. Everybody comes after me. I don't care. But I'm very disappointed with that debate last night. And then you're talking about all your handouts, $25,000 for new home buyers. Now they want to give mortgages to illegal immigrants. We got people that live in here couldn't get mortgages. Now they want to give it away. You know what's going to happen next? We'll give that away, and then we'll have another real estate disaster like we did in 2008. And then, Vice President Cheney, you just showed your true colors. You're talking about Donald Trump in 2016. Oh, he's too liberal. He's this. Well, now you're going to endorse Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. I mean, are you smoking crack? I know Liz, I know your daughter was very upset with Trump. We got to take the politics out of it and just utilize what is going to save this country. And the whole issue with Putin endorsing Kamala Harris, sure, Putin's scared crap of Donald Trump. China's scared crap of Donald Trump. They ain't scared crap of Kamala. They laugh at Kamala. She went over there. She never interviewed Putin. You were the vice president. You went and got that guy Zelensky. You talked to him. Why didn't you go sit talk to Putin? He didn't even want to talk to you. Okay? So you got no answer. And then you make your stupid comments about, well, I've never been to Europe. Well, Kamala, how come you haven't been to the border? You're supposed to be in charge of this. Well, I've never been to Europe either. This is the fool that the people now want to vote and bring in as our president of the United States. Again, Donald Trump, you dropped the ball last night on that debate. I am not abandoning you. I'm just hoping you could dust yourself off and go for that next debate, because the reality is you can't go any further down than what happened to you last night. We're talking about illegal loopholes in Wisconsin. Now they're going to be allowing thousands to vote in Wisconsin without showing any photo ID. And now all of a sudden, look at what we're facing right now. We're facing not a legal election. We're facing every avenue of these mail-in ballots. There's no verification checks. So whatever the mail-in ballot is, okay, that's a vote. That's a vote. Why can't we get back to voting where you show your ID like you do when you go on an airplane, and you show your ID and you have one vote for one American? I don't know. I'm so disgusted with this thing. And then this thing with the migrants getting $4,000 to get them to move out of shelters, more money, $1.3 billion on security for migrant shelters. It goes on and on and on. And when there's one of these issues, this guy Worley Nito, this is a migrant. Now listen to this one. He got a long history. Okay. Wally was involved in 2018. He crossed the border. 2 days he's in there. They released him back in New York. He's arrested on Martha's Vineyard, multiple charges, strangulation, assault, and battery on a family. ICE requests immigration detainer. He's not turned over to ICE. Now he's found guilty of charges in Massachusetts, and he's sentenced to 364 days in jail. He gets out without local authorities notifying ICE again, and all of a sudden, he's again arrested on Martha's Vineyard, this time for 5 counts of child rape. ICE lodges another detainer. All of a sudden, he is now finally transferred to ICE on August 23rd. But he's had 6 different times where he's able to just commit crimes over and over and over. I have so much material here, but the most important thing I think today is us talking about, we could talk about the Afghan withdrawal, which was a total mishmash when I had that interview with that Marine colonel there, where he talked about bin Laden's son training ISIS people in Afghanistan to come through our southern border. They're here. It's going to happen. And when it happens, everyone's going to say, what can we do? And this is what we're going to be facing. And all I tell you, people, is don't vote on personalities. Donald Trump's personality sucks. But vote for what's going to be best for you and your family and for your future and for your security. And the only person that's running for president today that can ensure that you're going to get a positive result in what I just said is Donald Trump. So hold your nose and vote for Donald Trump. Because if you vote for Kamala Harris, all I could say is right now is we will be going into an abyss, and I don't think that we're ever going to be able to steer the ship right. Please tell everyone that you know. Please vote. Last night was not a good day for Donald Trump, but it shouldn't cause him the election. We should look at the policy, and hopefully they have another debate. Till the next time I see you, please listen to Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast. Thank you.